Hello and welcome. I'm Craig Walters, editor of Global Railway Review, and joining me today on this video is Jeremy Haskey, Chief Architect at Nomad Digital. Jeremy, thanks so much for your time today.
Thanks, Craig. Good to be with you.
Good. So I wanted to speak with you about a couple of main points, really, to get your views and opinions on, mainly around post-pandemic travel and how you think the railways can entice passengers back to travelling by train, and perhaps which technologies you think can help with that. I think we're lucky in the UK to have had our railway network open and running during the pandemic, obviously, but obviously the sector has been massively hit with reduced passenger numbers. But as we start to open up and get back into a little bit of normality, do you or would you agree that a lot needs to be done to entice people back onto the railway? Is there an element of winning back the trust of passengers and making them aware that it is obviously safe to travel by train? What do you think?
I definitely think you're right. We started the whole pandemic and the mantra was, no unnecessary travel, don't use public transport. That was pushed very heavily at the start of this. So we've managed to pretty much undermine the trust in the public transport system through that message. Clearly, as we're coming out of the pandemic, what we're seeing is a huge uptake in cars. I took the train recently and it was pretty much dead. But if I try and drive to another city from where I am, generally the car traffic is back to where it was before, if not a little bit heavier. So yeah, we definitely need to start to attract people back onto public transport. And I think that's going to be a key push from the government as we go forward, because ultimately, if we're going to hit our emissions target, the car can't be the winner out of the back of this.
Okay, so once passengers are back on board and we start to see an increase in passengers returning to rail, in what ways and how do you think we can keep the passengers satisfied with their journeys? I think demands were constantly changing even before the pandemic. The need for better connectivity on board and being much better informed with real-time journey information. So do you think passenger demands have now shifted again because of COVID-19? And if so, what are those and how can Nomad Digital help in this area?
So ultimately, I think pre-pandemic, you're right. It was all about getting a seat, getting on an uncrowded train if you possibly could, arriving at your destination on time. Whilst there's still key elements of most people's care-abouts, I think the care-abouts have shifted now, and it's more of a safety aspect. So social distancing is still key. It's still published and pushed through, and the rail operators are pushing a social distancing regime within the trains. How clean is the train? I mean, it used to be a niggle before, but now I think it's actually a big issue with people. If they think a train hasn't been cleaned and it's unhygienic in any kind of way, I think it's going to put passengers off coming back to the rail environment. And the standard stuff is someone wearing a mask. Are we repeating to people that they've got to be 2 meter separation or whatever the new separation rule is going to be in the future? And how that all works and the way they push this out is going to be key. Now, obviously, we are a digital company focused on connectivity, focused on pushing information to a passenger, whether that's through a fixed screen within a vehicle or to their mobile device as and when they come. Digital information will be key in bringing people back safely to the rail, because we can constantly remind them of what it is they need to do, where they need to be, effectively how they need to behave in that environment, because behavior is also another key aspect of this. Years ago, you get on a train, lots of people stand by the door if they're going a couple of stops on a commuter run. Clearly, no social distancing. That's not going to work. Now you've got to take your seat, the allocated seat that you've been given in that environment. So From Nomad's perspective, our Engage portal, which allows us to directly touch the passenger, whether it's through the internal system or on the bring your own device type environments onto your mobile phone, is going to be a key tool for the rail operators to help move this forward.
Okay, so you've mentioned there the Engage portal. Perhaps you can give us a little bit more detail about that solution specifically. As a passenger, what benefits does the Engage portal bring to their journey? But also, what about the advantages to the operator themselves?
So the Engage portal is going to bring quite a few things to the passenger, because clearly, as you travel on the train, part of the way forward is going to be entertainment. Has always been a key aspect of pleasure in your journey, and the Engage portal has a whole host of embedded features within that, including digital rights management, that allow you to, if an operator so wishes, to host movies, Hollywood-based type movies on a train. But actually, the Engage portal offers other things that are more pragmatic and practical than that. So at-seat self-catering service, which I think will be key going forward, because you really don't want people walking around a train. If you can avoid that, actually an at-seat service reduces the amount of movement within that environment, and hence, it becomes more COVID safe. But all the other things that come with that. So you can get instant feedback from a passenger as to how the journey's going, how they feel about the carriage, the car, other aspects of their journey, their onward journey, which is quite key in the way that we start to plan our way out of this pandemic, and give people that feeling that, it is safe to travel on public transport. So for us, it's a very good tool for the operators to employ in the environment of just general running now in the post kind of COVID world.
Yeah, it sounds absolutely amazing. So with the onboard experience becoming more digital, and giving the passengers the opportunity to connect with onboard services, like you mentioned there, is there an element of having to make sure that the passengers are confident that their data will be safe and secure, when they connect to these systems? This whole era of cyber security, how do you think that plays a role in perhaps not only the journey experience, but again, enticing passengers back to rail?
So the whole cyber security aspect of anything digital on a train is absolutely key. What we see in the marketplace today is tens of thousands of cyber attacks on rail services. And generally, you get two types of rail services. You get operational rail services, which is railway signaling, which can be radio-based, as we know today, or it can be more the IT-based environment, which would be the likes of getting onto a portal, connecting to the Wi-Fi, and then seeing what else you can get into behind that. I would say the latter attracts more of the attacks than the former. The former is generally a lot more difficult to even get close to, but the latter is open to the public, and therefore, hence, it's a key target for people and the hackers in general. So for us, giving confidence whenever you utilize a digital service becomes a must-have. And with our customers, the rail operators, we spend a lot of money and time in building security packages and security updates. Whenever we understand there's a breach in any type of environment in the operating system or software we run, we automatically push updates to our customers. So fundamentally, they feel secure in that environment. Can you ever be 1,000,000% sure? When you mix hundreds of public connections to a network, it's always going to be a threat environment. So we just have to be one step ahead of the hacker, and that's our job.
Yeah, good. So, this leads kind of on to the question about, or perhaps it's a key trend actually, about passengers wanting an intelligent journey and being connected to everything for their whole seamless experience. So perhaps some last comments from you, Jeremy, about the importance of making train journeys enjoyable, simple, but also smart, and how do you think the passenger experience is going to evolve even more in the years to come?
So the passenger experience is going to be key. And I think we all realise that going forward, what is going to be required of a journey is going to be very different to what it was 10 years ago, when we originally started this journey in digitising the train and the train environment. There's some massive and very exciting changes going ahead in the connectivity market, as we talk about. We talk about 5G a lot. Will 5G be the total answer? Possibly, probably not quite. We are seeing some very exciting work being done in private trackside radio networks, which will increase the throughput to the train. That will always attract more passengers, because the more consistent the quality of service you provide a passenger, the more they can be productive on a train, the more they can choose to stream data that they wouldn't exist on the train to their personal device, so they can continue whatever kind of entertainment environment they looked at home to the train on that. So when you get a kind of full pleasure journey, you can continue doing that. And ultimately, I think as we go forward, productivity will become even more key. So we're already seeing the kind of the changes in the way that people work in an office. It's unlikely it's going to be 5 days in an office every week. It's a couple of days in an office, a few days from home. We need to smooth the spike out in the way that people travel, and that will really help, because obviously the more seats we're going to wipe out because of social distancing and COVID, the more services you're going to have to run to move the same amount of people. So for us going forward, actually, the digital passenger experience will be the real change in all of this. And to do that, we need connectivity, better connectivity, faster connectivity, and ultimately, at the end of the day, safer connectivity in terms of the security and cybersecurity threats. So Nomad is working in a lot of these key areas of connectivity. 5G is part of our product portfolio. Private trackside radio networks are also part of that portfolio for connectivity. And then the passenger engage portal, which allows the operator to directly touch the passenger and actually give an enhanced passenger experience across any type of journey, is at the heart of what we do.
And that's ultimately that is what's going to keep passengers coming back to travel by rail, isn't it? So that's ultimately what we want to achieve. Yeah,
that's exactly right.
Okay, great. Well, thank you very much, Jeremy. That is all the time we've got for today. Thanks for joining me. Really great to get your insight on these topics. What I think is such a key moment for the rail industry at the moment. So thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Cheers, Craig.
Thank you.